What's going on, Ten Hut? And today we are missing a couple of our Ten Hut members or our Ten Hut crew, but some of us are doing some other things. I wanted to reach out to everybody and let everyone know that Will just had neck surgery, and we're hoping for a speedy recovery for Dr. Romero. He actually jumped on earlier and still like a big scar on his neck for but he's getting out of the hospital today. He's going home, so we're wishing him speedy recovery. And Pedro's actually in Texas. He's looking to expand our 10 Hut network into the northern Austin area so that we can reach out and have a wider net to reach other veterans in other states. So let's wish Will good luck, or Will and Pedro good luck, and then welcome them back next Thursday for our show. Before we get to our guest, which you're already seeing here, Krishna Flores. So it's a pleasure to have you. But before we introduce you, I did want to mention to our audience that we're going to have a little bit of a tribute next week for one of the members of Ten Hut, which I'm sure a lot of you know, and that's Ranger. Ranger unfortunately passed away this past Monday at noon, and it's been a bit of a rough road since then. But we will have a transition or a tribute to Ranger and the type of service that these type of organizations have provided for veterans, and in specific that organization that gave me Ranger that has provided to me. So stay tuned. Please log in and watch our show next week. But now let's jump in with Krishna. How are you?
Well, thank you. How are you? I'm so sorry about your dog.
I know.
Sorry.
I know it's a little, yeah, it's a little tough, but he actually was probably one of the pillars and the foundation that led to starting Ten Hut. We saw this organization that provided Ranger to me and us, my family, my friends, because he didn't just serve me; he served a vast group of people, veterans in specific. So we wanted to do that, anyways. But we'll talk about that next week and in more detail. But today it's about what you do and what you've done and what you're doing with the veteran community and that beautiful background that you have back there. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, hey everyone. So I'm actually casting in from the American Legion Post 43. I am in the trophy room, and
that is a Hollywood Post, correct?
Yes, Hollywood Post
Wow.
43. Yes. I am the post service officer here at the post, so I thought it would be appropriate to broadcast from here. This is a lovely space that we veterans and the community has access to, and this is one of the spaces. And they lend it out to the community. I let them know what I was doing, and behind me, the map up there is actually the map of the Western Front from 1918. So it's an amazing, it's an incredible room. It's just an incredible space, incredible building. They've done a really good job of restoring it and adding a lot of, putting out a lot of displays of just little trophies of memories.
It just went through a remodel, didn't it? Are they completely done now, or?
Yes. This room has been remodeled. The theater has been completely remodeled and has been in operations for about maybe a year or two.
I'm gonna call this a recruitment segment. So
I'm
If
a
anyone's
recruit for
interested,
everyone.
if anyone is interested in joining an American Legion post, the Hollywood post is beautiful.
Even if you're not a member of the American Legion, you can still visit the post when it's open. Today, there's karaoke night in the cellar, in the classic cellar, and outside they have a drive-in theater and they have a showing tonight as well.
Wow. Okay.
So it is in function, and I'm gonna recruit for everyone because I wear many hats in the community. Because I'm here just as Krishna. I'm not here just as a service officer for the American Legion or for the VFW or for the entity that I work for. It's
No,
just
you're here as Krishna, the
this
Marine.
Krishna era.
So tell us a little bit about your service.
Oh gosh, my service. All right. I joined in 2004. And I had a couple of reasons of joining the military. And get this, initially I was going to join the Army.
You know what? For me, it was the opposite. Initially, I was going to join the Marine Corps, and then they never called, and the Army called. Yeah. So, anyways, it's.
So the opposite thing happened to me. I showed up to the Army recruiting office like first thing in the morning. Like it was early, and they weren't open yet. But the Marine Corps office was right next door, and they were open. And a Marine popped his head out, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna join the Army. Why? Because they're the best." Oh, no, they're not. And I'm like, whatever. And he steps out in his uniform and he's like, what about the Marine Corps? And I'm like, what's the Marine Corps? Like, I was super special back then, still am. But he said, come on in. He just sold it real quick to me. He said it was the hardest. If I was looking for a challenge, the Marine Corps was it. It had the longest boot camp and not a lot of women back then. It was very challenging for women, so not everyone would make it. Only the tough ones do. And I was like, yeah, the few, the proud, the fewer women Marines. And I was like, sign me up.
And you did it.
And I did it. So I went in open contract, not knowing what the frack I was doing.
You can cuss on
Right.
there.
No. I haven't had any drinks. This is water. If I had a drink, maybe
I
it'd
know
come out later.
this is a 10 hot with the side of whiskey, and I ran out of whiskey.
Oh, okay. So we're on the same boat. Good, cool. We're in the same boat. It works out. So then I graduated from boot camp, and my first duty station was Okinawa, Japan. So I went out there as motor T, and like 6 months into the fleet or so, or maybe 3 months, they came to my unit and they asked for volunteers to deploy to Iraq to support OIF. And I was like, right here. So I was like one of two women in my platoon, my battalion that volunteered to deploy.
One of
And so
women in an entire battalion.
yeah, from 3rd Medical Battalion, and it was just me and my bestie, and we both volunteered like no hesitation. That's one of the reasons I wanted to serve. I was born in New York City, so when 9/11 happened, it just hurt. It hurts the nation, but it really hurts. It really hurts me because there's also like a story connected of where my mom and my dad came from El Salvador to the U.S. and they first saw the skyscrapers, and I never got to see them. So it really like solidified my commitment to serve, especially at war. So I volunteered to go, and then I became an augmented military. So I went from Okinawa, got attached to Camp Lejeune, to what was it, 2nd MLG MP battalion, and we got retrained. And like 3 weeks later, 2005 in February, I landed in Al Assad.
So for the civilian segment of our viewers, if you're not understanding any of the acronyms or any of the job titles, write those down or put them in the comments below, and we'll explain them to you. But if you're writing them down, then Google them later because we're running through these.
I'll elaborate a little more here and there. So I did convoy security out there. That's all I did. And, back in 2005. So I was out there outside the wire doing my thing. And unfortunately, though, before my deployment, I experienced military sexual trauma. And I chose not to report it because of the context around the incident. And for many reasons that other people don't report is I was scared. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't want people to think I got cold feet and didn't want to deploy or I was making it up. And I didn't want to ruin everyone else that was around that participated in the whole event, the whole series of events that went on that night. And so I didn't say anything. So when I went out to Iraq, I was really more on a mission of not coming home. And I came home. So when I got out of the Marine Corps, I struggled a lot with post-traumatic stress disorder, survivor's guilt, moral injury, and yeah, and I got in trouble too in the Marine Corps for the PTSD, but no one back then, I didn't really know. I didn't know who to communicate to. How it did exhibit itself was through risky behavior and, aggressive drinking to forget and so forth. So I fell down the pattern that a lot of vets do. And it was because I did not know how to process what had happened, combined both traumas, right? The combat trauma and the military sexual trauma. And so I made it through the Marine Corps. I got in trouble, but I got out with an honorable discharge. Not a good conduct, not a good cookie, but I still got an honorable, and I feel very lucky to have come out with that. And so when I transitioned out, I went straight to school. Actually, I was married and I had domestic violence thing, and I had to leave that situation. It's like a list of all the risks that women or veterans and women veterans
can check off a lot of boxes.
Yeah, it's just like a whole lot of box checking. And I struggled a lot. So I left that relationship. I went to college, fucking failed my first 2 semesters of community college. So I really felt like outside of the Marine Corps, like I was literally nothing. Wasn't good at anything. Only thing I knew I was good at so far up until then was being a Marine. And so
did the thought of going back ever cross?
It did, but I was so angry. I was so angry about the betrayal of my sexual assault, and then also how my peers treated me afterwards. That retaliation, ostracization, just singling you out, giving you extra duties, hazing you, just all that stuff happened in Iraq as well. So another added stressor pushed me to the edge, to the point where I really didn't want to come home. But it missed me and it took someone else. And at that time I struggled with it because I didn't want to come home. I wanted them to come be here instead, like someone that didn't want to be here should have been me. And it just happened a lot, and I still kind of struggle with that very much.
Yeah, I'm sure it could, and that's one of the things that the last month was definitely PTSD Awareness Month, and then we want to continue on with these segments of like what you're talking about right now, survivor's guilt or PTSD, and I have to say that I have to commend you for being strong and talking about it. I know that I have no idea how hard it has to be for you to talk about it, but to be able to get to this point and share your story and inspire others, it's freaking amazing. Or as one of our readers or our viewers wants to know what frack means, I'm gonna say it's fracking amazing. So.
Frack is actually a word from Battlestar Galactica. It's their version of fuck.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
There you go
I'm a
for
big fan. Big fan.
so yeah, but now, and again, I don't want to minimize or anything. Well, we could probably talk about this on a 5 hour segment and still we wouldn't scratch the surface. But I do want to get to what you're doing now, how you overcame that, because that's where your real mission now for others begins. You know, is you were on a personal journey to find yourself. Unfortunately, you went through a lot of struggles, but now you're on a crusade to save others, and that's what I want to talk about. So, what are you doing now?
Well, thank you for wording it that way. I don't see it that way. I just feel
I
like I'm
think
just chilling, trying to
nah.
help people. So what really helped me for a couple of things. It was access to resources. Initially, though, when I first went to the VA for assistance with my PTSD, because I got to the point where I really didn't want to be here, and every breath that I was taking was torture. And I was like, I can't. This is just me. My personal thing is, I have buddies that didn't come home, and I can't go out like that. Like that would be so. I wouldn't be honoring them. I feel like it just does not compute in my brain as an option. So, I was like, I'm not going to do that. So I went to the VA, and it took a couple of tries for me to go to the VA. And let me tell you why. And I like to elaborate about this because I work in the mental health field. I provide mental health outreach for the Department of Veterans Affairs, but I'm not here representing them. I'm just mentioning them. And so I talk a lot. I share my story because PTSD is real. And what helped me step out of my comfort zone and really seek help and support were a series of things. So I'm going to try to mention them all in a rational manner. So the first one was going to the VA and accessing the healthcare. When I first went, I really didn't believe that therapy would work for me. I thought therapy was for like weak people. Obviously, that's the stigma associated with mental health. It comes from my upbringing, my culture, the society, and the
Absolutely.
culture in the military about mental health, right?
Hmm.
So, so when I went to the VA, I didn't I didn't believe in it. So it took me trying 3 different therapists to finally feel like I found a therapist that I felt like I could open up to and be vulnerable. And I will say that I wasn't a cooperative patient. I pissed off my counselors because I was just so not cooperative at all. I was very stubborn to the treatment. So it wasn't working on me. So there I was thinking, oh, that stuff doesn't work. So they gave me pills. And then that wasn't working. And it was causing all types of side effects and even, aggravating the suicidal ideation. So I went back to therapy. I finally found, I worked with the postdoctorate, someone who was still completing their internship. So I was like, I'm desperate. So let's do it. So I went through a series of treatment modalities with this doctor. And it's important for veterans when you go seek professional help that you complete treatment. Discuss the treatment that you feel comfortable with your provider, and they'll give you suggestions, they'll give you options of what you want to work on. For me, I started with prolonged exposure treatment. And I don't know if people are familiar with it, but the gist of it is you during your sessions, you repeat your story out loud over and over and over again. And as you're doing so, you're identifying your hot spots. Like what parts of your story really trigger you and physically you respond with, your heart starts to beat faster, your breathing gets shallower and so
What do
forth.
you
Yeah, clammy hands, anxious, all that stuff, right? It feels like it's happening again, reliving those symptoms.
Yeah.
Um, so I figured out what triggered me and then how to de escalate those symptoms right then and there, and then continue with the story. That was one, and that was about 8 to 12 weeks of that. And at some point, You have to record yourself and listen to yourself over and over and over. So like it no longer feels like that memory is occurring and it is an actual memory and it's not presently happening. The next treatment, which it was really hard to finish, to talk about the sexual assault over and over like that. It's very hard. I think I left more upset out of treatment than I ever felt good. But I learned how to start using the tools that I learned inside that room when I left. Because I would choose to do my counseling sessions in between classes when I was trying to get my undergrad, when I did get my undergrad, when I was going to undergrad school, because it would force me to have to get back in the zone of being able to focus. So I had to learn how to soothe myself quickly.
I might have to get some tips on how to focus. I'm still having a lot of trouble with focus, but I am familiar with that modality. And one of the things that we want to mention to viewers is there's not a one size fits all, and Dr. Greenberg mentioned it last time, is that you have to try it. For some, I'm not condoning or recommending medication, but for some, medication works, and
Mm-hmm.
you should continue to take it.
Mm-hmm.
For others, if you want to try other approaches, there's other things that you can do. And just like medication, if one therapist doesn't fit you, others might, and you have to just keep trying, like, you know, so
It's really about the work that you do.
that you want to put into it. Yeah.
It comes down to that. And the next modality that I tried, like you said, I got something from that and then it wasn't working anymore. I felt like, oh, it's manifesting in a whole different way now.
Yeah.
So then I went into cognitive behavioral therapy. I did that. Then I did cognitive processing therapy. I did that. Then I went into exposure therapy, where that one was really hard for me. So I isolated a lot. I didn't like being in crowded areas. I hated going to the supermarket. I used to wear my sunglasses indoor. I made no, I didn't want to talk to anyone because I wanted to punch everyone or knife throat them, punch them in the throat. I was just so angry. And, I didn't like feeling
But
that
not
way.
anymore,
Not
audience.
anymore,
Believe
no.
me, I've known you for a couple of years now, and I don't think you've ever throat chopped me or anything. So, or my wife, Amy.
Yeah.
I'll ask her later. Maybe Amy, you throat chopped her before.
No, absolutely not. I used to be violent and I didn't like that. It took me such a long time not to be violent,
Yeah, you start
right?
losing.
Not to be reactive
Yeah.
to my triggers or to situations because, like my peers, I exhibit risky behavior and I follow it. So then, once I started doing exposure therapy, I started to venture out of that space, right? That treatment, very clinical,
Hmm.
focused type of space, and I went into like alternative, recreational therapy, adventure therapy, right? So I started cycling, and there was this nonprofit, no longer exists. It has several different names, but what it did is introduce cycling to me, and it also offered me the space to attend a women veterans cycling retreat. And they would bring in, I know, right?
That
They
is
would bring in, huh?
that is so awesome. So it's in a similar fashion. There's also for our audience, if you want to get into outdoors, what Krishna's talking about is outdoor therapy. Like you just want to get out and release endorphins by exercising. There's the Team Red, White, and Blue that will take you on hikes. Um, the Waves projects that will teach you how to scuba dive and even get certified as a master diver so that you can teach others to do it. So if you want to get outdoors, the thing about all of these resources of what you want to do is just do the research. So what else did you do besides cycling and
Well, cycling just changed my life. It like took whatever success and growth I had made in the clinical side it like it like fucking shot me off, dude.
Yeah.
Like it introduced me to a whole different world, and also my tribe, my ladies. The only reason I feel like again, several things had to happen in order for me to be able to be here today, right? And one of them was sitting in that retreat, listening. They were organized. They were bringing like a, a therapist, right, recreational therapist, and we would discuss things. And a lot of the times we would get into the topic of military sexual trauma. And it was this young lady stood up. She was a combat army veteran, and she's up there because she is super elated and happy that she just finished inpatient treatment in Palo Alto for her MST, and that she felt fabulous. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I got so angry back then. My only reaction was anger. But I also felt something different where I felt like if she can do it, I can do it.
And
And man, go
that,
ahead.
and that's the thing about um, like connecting with other veterans. And I know that. Well, actually, I'll put an example as when I served in an all male, the 82nd Airborne, 3505 was all male, so I had zero connection or relatability to what a female goes through in the military. I was
Mm-hmm.
completely ignorant and idiot about this entire situation.
Yep.
Um, so when we started Ten Hut, I had no clue how to serve the women population of the veteran community. Um, so by networking, connecting with other veterans, it just informs you of all of these things that you had no idea you had at your disposal. And with you, I'm sure, like, connecting with that veteran, it gives you that sense of, all right, there's a community that can join me. So
Yes, yes. And coupled with the physical challenge of cycling, I thought that was easy too until I got on the bike and I was like, oh no, there is so much mental to that
I,
sport.
I suck at bikes. I mean, I know how to ride a bike. But it takes about 2 blocks and my legs are tired.
I love it. Another thing that changed my life because when you're cycling, you have to be aware of how you're utilizing your energy and you don't want to be wasteful. So you have to be mindful of your body and what it's doing and how you're breathing and how tight you're holding on to things, how you're seated on the feet because you want to conserve energy. And it just made sense in my brain. And I felt like I could transition that whenever I was doing my presentations because this is what I do for work. I'm constantly in my story, hearing other people's stories. So that helped me. That ability to have that so much self awareness helps me whenever I'm out and about and something happens and I get triggered because this recovery from PTSD and MSD is a lifetime journey. I truly believe that stages of change changed my life when I learned that too, that model. And my quality of life has definitely improved utilizing all of these resources that are available to me because I am so lucky to live in Los Angeles County. Really, that's what it is. There we are super saturated with resources here. You didn't mention higher ground, for example. That's another
Oh
great
yeah,
recreational.
higher
There's
ground.
higher ground. There's what is it? The Project Yoga, the Veteran Yoga Project. There's also what is there?
Oh,
I like Mission Continues. I
yeah,
like their thing.
there's a ton of resources when you want to get out into, well, when you are ready to get out into the world and you want to explore, because you do have to be ready.
You
Um,
do, yes, yes.
yeah, there is certain things, especially if you're not fond of crowds and there's other veterans crowding you, and you know, so you do have to be ready, but there's definitely resources out there to get outdoors, and I think they're phenomenal. So
And meet other veterans that inspire you, to step out of your comfort zone, that introduce you to something that you wouldn't have tried before.
yeah,
And
and
that's what.
and push you to a different limit that you used to, because I'm sure when you went into cycling, you weren't at the top of their,
You know,
yeah.
I was in the Delta group. I started way in the back. I'm a slow one. I'm a slow cyclist. And the sad thing is, in my 30s, I developed asthma, so I had to cut back my outdoor cycling because our quality here isn't great. But anyhow, different story. So I picked up other things, right? So like rock climbing, um, spinning, like indoor spinning. What else? I did like a salsa project once. So just
Oh wow.
yeah, so utilizing those resources really, really aided in my ability to transition and heal all of the traumas that I experienced. Because again, remember, I was checking all those boxes. I experienced homelessness as well for a short stint of time. And in utilizing and stepping out of my comfort zone, I felt more confident in myself. And then I started work. I got lucky and I started working for Volunteers of America, and I got into a pilot program that was back in the day called the Battle Buddy Bridge program. I got hired on with them, and it opened up this other world that I didn't know. Like when I was going through all of that, I didn't know there was thousands of other veterans sleeping in the street that went through the same thing. And I didn't know the effects of MST and PTSD on women veterans. I didn't know they were homeless until I started working for Volunteers of America, as a battle buddy. I mean, as a peer support specialist, doing homeless outreach.
You should definitely think about getting or writing a book yourself or getting a ghostwriter, because I am sure that a lot of veterans and civilians themselves would love to read your story.
Oh wow! Thank you
Um,
for saying that. It's so nice. I say that to my girlfriends, and it's like, you think my story is book worthy? You should hear my girlfriend's story. I think her story is even more book
then
worthy.
how about a collaboration?
Ooh, I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's important. It's important for women to share their stories. It's the only way I think sometimes you resonate deep enough. And it is really true what people say. You never know who's watching.
Yeah.
You really don't.
And it's
I've lately.
I used to think, when we started 10 Hut, I was like, well, I want to be able to help everybody, every single veteran that we meet. And the stories are different, their approaches are different, and we try to help everybody that we've met. But sometimes it's just not the case. But if you get that just one person that you can say honestly, like, we've completely changed your life, it makes it worth it. And I think that
Yeah.
that approach you should take to the book. And if you could help one, just
Mhm.
one,
Yep.
makes it worth
Yep. Yes, sir. And that's absolutely true. And in doing all of this work that I've been doing, I've been working in the veteran space for about 11 years now. I started when I was working as a work study when I was utilizing my GI Bill benefits.
it. Yeah, Jeb. Woo.
Yes, yay GI Bill. And so I started learning about resources right away. Like once I got those jobs, I started just learning more about the veterans and our transition and everything, all the challenges that we face and the barriers to access, and how our beliefs also are barriers to accessing adequate care for ourselves. So I became a peer support specialist, and I learned that within sharing my story and relating to the veterans I was working with, to try to help them navigate if they wanted to get back on track, and
Yeah.
that it was possible. So I went through. So I've been in this space, and what I do now is this. I talk a lot about mental health, about PTSD, and the services the VA has to offer to veterans, especially veterans that have been affected by military sexual trauma or combat exposure.
We should get, I just thought about this because I work for the VA as well, but in the research department, and we don't have recruitment. Like, we do our own recruitment or outreach for the veterans that might be interested in. So, anyways, what I was thinking is maybe you can do some outreach, your team. Anyways, but that's for a later talk.
Okay, let's talk about it.
I do see the photo that's to your left, I think. Yeah. No, the other one. Yes.
That is my left. This is my left. Yes, that is a small little mural of Vanessa Guillen.
Can
Um,
you,
her,
yeah, can you share? A lot of our audience might not know. Um,
okay. Yeah,
I know
yeah.
it is extremely sad story. So,
Yes. Okay, so Vanessa Guillen was serving in the United States Army and she was stationed at Fort Hood. Um, she went missing in April, and her family um, became concerned when she went missing, and they started reaching out to the command, and the command wasn't able to locate her for a while. They said that she had gone AWOL. So that's what they were telling the family. And the family was like, no, we just talked to her. Something happened. She said she was being sexually assaulted or harassed in the service because she was initially, before getting to Fort Hood, she was thrilled to be in the service and be serving her country. She was very proud. So was her family. But when she got to Fort Hood, her demeanor changed, her attitude changed because she was experiencing, military sexual trauma, which unfortunately is so common in the armed forces right now. So, what is it? Last year there was a total of 20,000 um, sexual assaults that occurred, and so 1 out of 4 women experienced some form of military sexual trauma, and 1 out of 100 men. So it happens both to men and women. So she went missing. Her family is trying to communicate this with the command, but the command isn't responsive and weren't really looking for her. They had written her off as AWOL, but they became adamant. They got traction through social media, hashtag find Vanessa Guillen, hashtag eventually turned into hashtag justice for Vanessa Guillen, and so forth. So the media and the social media helped a lot of people mobilize and start sharing, and she became viral within like a couple of days or week, and everyone was trending her, tagging her, and she also started this hashtag Me Too in the military type of movement as well, like myself. I had already at that point when I learned this, I had already been working in this space and doing what I do now, but I had never stepped out into the public platform and protested and spoke out. And when this occurred, I felt like I really had to find my voice and advocate for her and for others because it's such a big issue. And in the field that I work in, I see it all the time. And it's so sad. And it's been happening for decades and decades. And it shouldn't be happening in our service. So Vanessa Guillen, eventually her body is found, and it comes to light that she was murdered by one of her peers on base, and it was shocking to everyone to learn that she was murdered on base. She was supposed to be safe. Where else could you not be safer, but in a military base, right? And in the armory. But she was murdered by a peer, and he when the news got out that her body had been found, and they were waiting to see if it was truly her, the the military police, the sheriff, everyone got the name of the individual, and it freaking escapes me right now, unless you remember, because I don't.
I
I
don't, and
know it's
actually
Robertson something.
yeah.
And so he ended up being pursued, and he was obtained by military police, and he was being detained on base. But somehow he was able to escape or elude wherever he was, and he was able to obtain a weapon and keys and drive off base, which caused a chase. Everyone was chasing him, the FBI, the sheriff, the military police, and somewhere along the chase towards the end, he pulled over and he killed himself.
But was there also, I believe his ex-girlfriend or his girlfriend was involved somehow, or
That is correct. Yes. So when he initially murdered Vanessa Guillen in the armory, he went ahead and disposed of her body, and he asked his then girlfriend to help him dispose of the body, and she went ahead and helped him.
Yeah, so there's a really, really good podcast that I listened to not too long ago, Crime Junkies with Ashley Flowers, and it goes over the entire um, case. So for our listeners who wants to listen to the entire Vanessa Guillen case, it's Crime Junkies with Ashley Flowers. It goes into detail, so it's a very
Yeah,
interesting story. So
it's a tragic story. It is so tragic, and she is not the only one. There have been many men and women that have gone missing under suspicious circumstances, and it was her though that brought a light to it, and has started a movement to get institutional changes passed in order to better address military sexual assault in the military and prevent it, and also prevent this from happening again to a service member.
definitely, and there's a hashtag for it, right? You were mentioning it earlier.
Yeah, it was a hashtag. I'm sorry,
Justice for Vanessa Guillen.
justice for us again. Sorry, I'm like so bummed now. My
Oh,
moods just go woo. Mm. So yeah, she really pushed me. She this whole thing. As a survivor of military sexual trauma, or I don't know, I don't like that word either, survivor. But anyways, I
it,
don't have another word for it.
I don't know if you saw that one of our listeners is gave us the name of him, Aaron David Robinson.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Robertson. Yeah,
thank you,
Aaron.
Rocio.
Thank you, Rosia. Hey, Rosia, what's up? Um, Yeah, man. And she really pushed me to get out there and share my story, and also build awareness on the situation, on the circumstances and her murder and the injustice of it. I feel so much for her family. And it turns out I actually have a friend who's related to the Guillen family. So it's just
Oh,
so
okay.
tragic. So tragic.
Yeah, we did a segment with you not too long ago, actually at an event, and we're still putting the audio and the video together. So we'll have that on our YouTube channel pretty soon. So you'll hear Krishna going a little bit more into detail about it. Um, so we're excited.
So, because of Vanessa Guillen outreach, that's what I do. I talk a lot about military sexual trauma. So, when I do my work and I'm out in the community, I'm educating the community about it. And if anyone shares with them, trust them, and get that vulnerable to disclose that they experience that, where they can refer them to. And one of those places is the Vet Center. The Vet Center provides readjustment trauma counseling to any military service member, veteran, Coast Guard member that experienced military sexual trauma, reported and non-reported, at no cost, not for like today and forever. It's an eligibility, and it's a resource accessible to them for the rest of their lives.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And and it's super important because that's what has helped me navigate living with that trauma. Because although you'll never forget your experiences, the best thing that we can do is learn how to live with them, carry them, cope with them, and be able to grow and have a good life, a
Yeah.
good quality of life. And and I feel very lucky to still be here today, because a long time ago I didn't want to be here. And not that things
We
I don't have, I'm not cured, I still struggle. It's just a lifetime journey.
I
But
I can personally attest. I know that there's a lot of veterans that you've helped, a lot of female veterans that you helped, that are glad that you are here too. So,
thank you. Yeah. I enjoy it, and I am so lucky to work in the field that I do, and I just fell into it. I get to see. I get to learn from those who came before me. I get to hang out with a lot of Vietnam vets, World War II vets, Korean War vets, and it's a privilege to be able to hear their stories, especially the trailblazers.
Yeah.
Veterans have always had to fight for all of their benefits,
Yeah.
all of them. And so when they're out there still beating the ground, fighting for more resources for us, I think like what's going to happen once they transition, they leave us for natural causes or causes related to their service. Who's going to carry the torch? And I never thought it would have been me. I never would have thought like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
But now seeing what I see, the community, the camaraderie, and how to support people and save lives, legit save lives, change lives. I don't know what else I would do with my time, which is that's what I say a lot. I wear many hats in the community, and I always say I don't know what I'd be doing with myself if I wasn't doing this. Even though it's you know it requires me to manage my time well and stay on top of things, and
Yeah.
always be reading, keeping
Well,
track of all the stats.
like Amy says, hashtag badass women. But I think she missed the part with badass women veterans. So it's
Yeah, we came up with the hashtag a while ago. I wrote it down in my unicorn book.
unicorn book. That's interesting.
Oh, bro. Yeah, unicorns. I feel like women veterans are unicorns. We are all unicorns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I do now. I basically just encourage people to seek help, complete treatment, and that there is there is a way to recover and
I
have
like
some
the
post-traumatic growth.
quotation on there, which is complete treatment. You have to complete treatment. Yeah, it's a
Have
bold
to.
stamp.
Yes, you have to. That's where you're gonna reap the benefits. That's
Yeah.
where I reap the benefits the most. Yeah. And I'm still here. I'm still working it. I'm still trying other modalities because the journey is not over.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky I got started now, and I'm so thankful for the Vietnam veterans. So check this out: the Vet Center itself wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Vietnam, the Vietnam War veteran cohort.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. They're up to 1974, 79, somewhere around there. They went up to Congress and they're like, we need better services for the psychological effects of war. And back then, the VA was not prepared to handle that.
Yeah.
So the Vet Center came from that. And we've been around for 42 years addressing PTSD. And I honestly feel if it wasn't for the Vietnam vets doing that, we would be behind the curve in addressing and preventing veteran suicide.
It's actually really, really interesting, especially the way that they were received coming back home, for them to still want the community to help them, and so that's why when you see a Vietnam vet, don't forget to say welcome home, because they
Yes,
didn't get that welcome home.
yes, yes. I'm so lucky. I know so many, but I've
Yeah.
also known many legends now have passed. And it's hard. I've never been in this position where I lose a lot of vets now because of their age or natural causes, and it hurts. But they leave behind a valuable lesson.
Oh yeah, that's why I love talking to older veterans. I just absolutely love it. You learn so much more.
Yes, and it was because of them that I realized like I don't want to wait 40 years to address this. I don't. I need to hit this now, or I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm doing that now with my body. I need to address it now because my body's already feeling like it's breaking apart.
Yep,
I'm
yep,
reaching my 40s and it's everything hurts now. Anyway,
yes.
Krishna, it was amazing to have you. A amazing story, amazing comeback, and the services that you provide for other veterans, the inspiration that you provide for other veterans, it's unbelievable. But I'll
Mm.
leave you with this. One more question. And I know y'all eat a lot of MREs in the Marines. So what is your favorite MRE?
My favorite. I think it was the beef stew.
Really?
I
I like
think
it.
so. I can't, dude, I blocked out. I blocked out so much.
I blocked out all the horrible.
Yeah, dude, I have stomach issues because of MRE.
Yeah, GI issues here.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I gotta take
But yeah.
omeprazole every day just so that my acid reflux doesn't kill me in the night.
Yep. Yep. Metamucil is a game changer. Just saying. TMI.
All right. Well, stick
Thank you for
around.
having me,
Oh,
bro.
no,
Thanks for
thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm telling you, I know a couple ghostwriters if you don't want to write it yourself because I know that you're very, very busy. And if you want to collaborate with your other uh, counterparts or anyone else, we can ghostwrite it for you. So we'll get in touch.
All right. Thank you for the offer. I might take you up on that. And yeah, it was a pleasure to be here. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Well, until next time, Ten Hut, we're out.